This podcast is brought to you by iPlayHockey.ca. iPlay is the leading hockey insurance provider to coaches, camp instructors, spring and summer hockey leagues, and tournaments across Canada. If you need insurance for hockey, iPlay has you covered. iPlay also provides hockey players and coaches with a wide range of free tools, drills, and skills in their drill vault to enhance on-ice performance, and they provide crucial off-ice knowledge as well. So if you need insurance for a hockey team, league, or camp, or if you just want to teach your kids some new drills, head on over to iPlayHockey.ca and check out their new website.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Boys in the Booth podcast. This is episode 283 of the pod. Cody Abrams and Melbourne with you. Fellas, we are now down to the final four teams in these 2026 Stanley Cup playoffs in the National Hockey League. We've got our Eastern Conference final matchup now set and our Western Conference matchup final set as well. But before we get into that, fellas, just wanted to take a minute to talk about that Game 7 that we saw on Monday night between the Montreal Canadiens and the Buffalo Sabres. Montreal obviously prevailing in this one. They will face the Carolina Hurricanes in the Eastern Conference Finals. And obviously, as a Sabre fan, it's a tough pill to swallow. The game ends in heartbreaking fashion, but that typically is the way it goes in a Game 7 overtime. And just wanted to start off the show by saying just how proud I am as a fan. What a season. Starting the year pretty rough, and you're thinking, oh, here we go again, and a lot of injuries and all of that. And then all of a sudden, they become the best team in the NHL since early December. And that leads to a 10-game win streak. And then out of the Olympic break, they pick up right where they left off. And obviously, before this incredible run, they had the GM change, and they end up winning the Atlantic Division, home ice in the playoffs, ending a 14-year drought. They end up winning a round, defeating the Boston Bruins in 6 games. And then to get to the second round, Game 7 against a very good Montreal team who's also young and has the foundational pieces in place and has a bright future ahead of them, just like the Sabres do, to push them to a Game 7 and to be one shot away from moving on to an Eastern Conference final for the first time in 2007. Who would have thought, And so just really proud of the Sabres, the organization, and really, really just proud to be a part of that fan base. And again, going back to that Game 1 against the Bruins and what that night was like, and that's been well documented on this show and on Instagram and all of that. That's a night in particular that I'll never forget. So just wanted to say that in particular to start off, just as tough as the loss is. Just really, really proud of this season. And I think that this is kind of just the beginning for the train that is the Buffalo Sabres, that according to MLSE CEO Keith Pelley didn't see coming. So anyway, I wanted to just say that off the top.
You had me. I was going to follow that up with a lot of support and encouragement, and then you brought up the train that is the Buffalo Sabres and lost me. A couple things I want to say about all there. First of all, it's been like 5 years in a row where the Buffalo Sabres go on some run and you think, oh, maybe this is the year. But all 5 of those years, Chad and I have both been like, it's going to fall off. It's going to fall off. They're going to miss. Don't worry. And we've been right 5 out of 5 times. This season was different. And I think we saw the writing on the wall, and kind of, at least I kept my mouth shut when Buffalo was on a freaking tear there for a while. And talking about just the youth of this team and Montreal in that series, a great series, heck of a series. It has to be scary to be in that Atlantic division. Like, you thought maybe the blood feud of the Atlantic was finally over with some of these teams falling off. No, they just got replaced by two new teams. So I'd really hate to be a team that's currently retooling in that division, or maybe a team that just gave up the guy leading the league or the playoffs in points. Quick stab at the
Okay,
Leafs.
enough shots here.
So
we're in the third round of the
anyways,
playoffs, and all you guys can talk about is the Maple Leafs. I just want to make that known right now.
All the guys, all we can talk about. That's all we talk about. Definitely no one.
That's all
else
anyone
can beat the
talks
Leafs
about.
always.
Yeah.
No, just the last thing I want to say, and it's because the listeners come here for negativity, not all this praise and hype of the Buffalo Sabres. I want to talk about where things went wrong in this series, and I want to put the blame. I want to play the blame game, and I blame the first line of the Buffalo Sabres and their complete lack of showing up in this series. Just particularly Tage Thompson and Alex Tuch, who went pointless in this series. But the reason why I'm bringing this up and being hard on them is because I feel like I pinpointed an exact moment that this series was lost. And it didn't come in game 6 or game 7, which, you'd think a series would be lost. It came in game 5 when they were up. Buffalo was up 3-2 in the second period, and they had about 6 or 7 minutes of just dominance in that period to start things out. 2 or 3 shifts where, Sportsnet is popping up in the top right of the screen, like, this is how long all of the Montreal players have been on ice, like a minute 30, a minute 40, whatever, just dominating them. And then a breakaway by Tage Thompson at the end of all that. Montreal finally gets it out. They're doing a quick change because they're all gassed. And then the puck flies up the end boards to Tage Thompson in on a breakaway. 17 stick handles and not a shot on goal on the breakaway, essentially. Like, stuffed it in the pad at the side of the net. It just nothing. And then after that, goal. Montreal wins the game. And I felt like just all the momentum, I thought right there that series was dead and that Montreal was going to win game 6. Ultimately, that didn't happen, but I feel like Buffalo had the chance to really take a stranglehold on the series in that game 5. And they had the momentum, they had the dominance in period 2, and then that missed breakaway, and then it was all over from there. And that's my take on this series. And Montreal is just a good team that finds ways to win games that they're not supposed to, and game 5 and 7 being those games.
Yeah, and stretch that back to the first round case where they won that game 7 with 9 shots on goal.
Yeah.
And
how does that happen?
It's insane. It's totally insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting you pinpoint one moment where you thought the series was lost. I just sort of watched that series and thought to myself, boy, like, Buffalo needs to start capitalizing. They were getting chance after chance after chance in every single game. And yeah, the goals went in. They scored the 8 in the one game. But, and by the way, don't blow out a team in the playoffs case. Like you said in the chat, we've been over this a million times. Don't blow out a team in the playoffs. So
I mean, Montreal kind of did it in game 5 and they lost game 6. Just every time it happens.
That's how it works, because you're going to get embarrassed the next game. But yeah, it just seemed like they were getting so many chances and they weren't able to capitalize. And like, I just look at the numbers right now, like Buffalo, number 1 in the playoffs right now in all situations in terms of expected goals for, but haven't been able to capitalize as much as they should have been able to during that series. And that was ultimately the deciding factor. Tage Thompson, Alex Tuch, like you mentioned, 2 guys who, Tuch in particular needed to have a really good playoff because he's playing for a contract right now. And how many millions of dollars did he just cost himself by putting up goose eggs in that series? It's kind of tough for him. And just kind of zooming out a little, I like Harp off the top, you were saying how, excited and I guess proud of the Sabres you were for their effort in this series, in this playoff round altogether. And I just want to say, like, expectations are a heck of a thing because everyone in Buffalo is so excited, right? That they even got this far and, they're in the second round and they made it this far and they're so proud. But at the end of the day, they lose to Montreal, right? Who isn't exactly a powerhouse. And I look at Philly too. And by the way, Habs fans are going to kill me for that. So I'm just bear with me here. And I look at Philly too, who beats the crappy Penguins and moves on to the second round, and they get swept by the Hurricanes, who, yes, are a really good team. But again, Flyers fans, they give them a standing ovation, and everything is gravy because they had zero expectations going into the season. And then I just look back at last year and the Maple Leafs losing in Game 7 to Florida, and yes, it was an embarrassing effort, but the Leafs lose in Game 7 to the eventual back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. And everyone's like, this is the worst team ever assembled. You've got to blow it up. You've got to trade XYZ. And it's like expectations are what dictate that. So it's just funny to me seeing like Buffalo, who's at the start of their curve, right? They're at the start of the build. And same with Montreal too, who's just kind of happy to be there. And I think both of these teams are really good and are going to be good for a while. And in the Atlantic, I don't think that they're supplanting the teams at the top. I think they're just adding to the strength of the Atlantic because, like Tampa Bay's not really going anywhere, though there need to be some conversations there. Florida will be back next year fully healthy. So I think you're just adding strong teams. But it's just funny to me seeing teams like both Buffalo and Montreal at the start of their build compared to where the Leafs are. So if we're talking Leafs, I need to get my piece in, and that's it. But overall, that was a great series, I have to say.
Yes.
And yeah, two teams that, God, they're exciting. However, I mean, and we're going to get into it, so I won't spoil my pick, but I think Montreal's in for a bit of a rude awakening in the conference finals here.
BetterHelp is the paid partner of this video. The new year is a blank space for you to write a new story. BetterHelp makes it more convenient to get you started. BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy more comfortable and convenient. They carefully make sure therapists on the platform are well qualified, and their customer support team is there to help you if you have any questions. With over 7,000 reviews and a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot, BetterHelp is a platform you can trust. Your next chapter starts today. Get 10% off your first month of BetterHelp online therapy at betterhelp.com/boysinthebooth in paid partnership with BetterHelp. 100%. By the way, Buffalo in that Game 7, which, I mean, look, we were, regardless of the result, regardless of the fact that I'm a Sabres fan, I mean, that Game 7 was an instant classic. Like, that was a real treat for hockey fans like ourselves. Buffalo, by the way, 91 shot attempts in that hockey game, and I think Montreal had something like 54 or whatever. I mean, look, that's just the way it goes, the Sabres, they needed just one more break. Unfortunately, they didn't get it. Montreal got it. By the way, I don't blame Luukkonen on that goal. It's a bit of a knuckle puck that goes through him.
I initially said in the chat, and you guys know this, like, wrist or from distance, you've got to save that. But upon further inspection on the replay, you do see that it flips up, and it was a bit of a knuckler. And I thought, honestly, it's funny that Kelly Rudy is on the broadcast as the goalie, because I thought it was actually Kevin Bieksa who broke it down the best and slowed it down after the goal went in and said, look at this, like, Luukkonen's expecting this shot to rise, but because it's a knuckle puck, it changes directions in the air and doesn't rise like a normal puck would. So I thought Bieksa broke it down really nicely, actually.
No, exactly. And look, at the end of the day, it's a results-oriented business, and it was a really tough series for Tuch. I thought he played really well in the last two games of this series and had some good chances, but just couldn't pot one in the back of the net, was just snake bitten. And it's like the old line, I'm not looking at you to get chances. I'm looking at you to score and produce. And Tage Thompson with Zach Benson on the 2-on-1 there in overtime. He tries the toe drag move around the defenseman, and I'd rather Tage just shoot the puck there coming down the right side of the wing. And look again, another tough break was the quick whistle on the loose puck that Mauenstein then shoveled in behind Jakub Dobish. But I mean, that happens. And at the end of the day, we can talk about the what ifs and whatnot, but they had a lot of chances that they could have capitalized on. But the positive thing at the end of the day here, and you got to look at it through a positive lens, is how young this team is. The foundational pieces are in place. They will learn from this. They'll be better from it. And it was just an incredible ride this year. And it's sad that it's over, but just really proud. And so I knew you guys would come in just with more of the cold, hard facts and all of that. Well, this could have happened and they could have been better in this area. And hey, I appreciate all of that. But at the end of the day, looking at it through a positive lens and just what a year it was. So there we go.
Exceeded expectations.
Absolutely.
That's what it's all about.
All right. Fellas, thank you for giving me the floor there for a few minutes and chiming in there on the Sabres. And now we move on to our two conference final matchups to preview here in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Both these matchups get going this week, starting with the teams that we mentioned a moment ago in the Eastern Conference Final, the Montreal Canadiens and the Carolina Hurricanes. For Montreal, we talked about them, obviously, 2 Game 7 victories in their first 2 rounds in Game 7s where they flat out were outplayed, but found a way to get the job done. The youngest team ever to advance to a conference final since the 1993 Montreal Canadiens, which is pretty cool. And then you've got the Carolina Hurricanes, who we've talked about have been an absolute juggernaut so far. Is this the year they finally break their conference final curse? They're 8-0 so far, just absolutely dominant. They've almost been off for 2 weeks now. It's crazy. Montreal, Carolina, Eastern Conference Final. It gets going Thursday night. Let's start there.
This podcast is sponsored by SeatGeek, the absolute best ticket app out there. SeatGeek takes the confusion out of buying tickets, making it quick and easy to get the best deals to tickets at your favorite sporting event. SeatGeek does this awesome thing where they score each ticket out of 10 based on its value, so you know whether you're getting a good or a bad deal. Last time I got tickets to see the Devils play, I first saw red tickets. I waited it out, monitored the price in-app, and once I saw green, I pulled the trigger. SeatGeek makes it that easy. And here's the best part. SeatGeek has completely hooked us up. Boys in the Booth listeners get $20 off their first purchase on SeatGeek with the promo code BOYSINTHEBOOTH in all caps. Click the link in our description to download the app, and remember to get your discounted tickets using the code BOYSINTHEBOOTH in all caps. Get great seats for a fraction of the cost with SeatGeek.
Yeah, I know it feels a bit stupid to say this about a team that's swept both the series so far, but they've got to get it done as quick as they can in this series, because the longer this goes on, the more those questions are going to come into their heads of, can we break this Eastern Conference curse? Can we get through this series? Are we going to botch this again? So yeah, the quicker the better for Carolina here. And I can't imagine it going any other way, because I don't think that Montreal can outscore their problems against Carolina like they did in these last 2 series. And I don't know that 9 shots against is going to fly against Carolina either. So I say good teams find a way, and Montreal's certainly done that, but Carolina's so good they haven't had to find a way yet. And we haven't even seen their top guys, quotations, really have to step up yet. So I
Mhm.
think it's a matter of time until that happens, and they don't have to rely on the MVP caliber play of Stankoven and Hall. Carolina is dominant in every way, and I think that they finally get it done here. Just a couple things I want to talk about, kind of continue talking about with Montreal, is just like how well coached they've been so far.
Yeah.
Not just like all the stuff you've heard in the dressing room and all of his quotes and all the way he talks to the guys and his mannerisms on the bench, but his line matching has been phenomenal, and to the point where, I mean, when you got Buffalo's fourth line as matching up against you and Suzuki, and then, I mean, even making Suzuki double shift in overtime, it just, everything he's done, all the line changes, bringing Evans up to the second line, I feel like he freed up, like, well, Demidov when
Mhm.
those guys linked up. Demidov was a free man, and then you saw him score his first goal, and he was maybe Montreal's best forward on offense the rest of the series after that. Just the way he was creating and getting in open ice and moving with the puck and delaying when he gets in the zone to bring everyone else back into it. It's just, it was really great. And that line in general has been great. Obviously, New Hook is clutch god. I don't know where that came from, but put the puck on his stick. Should have bet on him and not whoever the heck I bet on. But I think that this series is going to be a fun one to watch because it's just going to be like high flying back and forth, just because of the way both these teams play. But I've ultimately got Carolina winning this. I want to say 5, but I'm going to say 6.
I think that's the safe pick. I really think this series is going to come down to whether or not Carolina can finish their chances, right? We know in the last series, Buffalo got a ton of chances, but they weren't able to finish. Jacob Dobish has been incredible so far in the playoffs. He's been, in terms of goals saved above expected, the second best goalie in the playoffs so far, second to only Freddie Anderson. So goaltending will be a big thing in this series. I think whether or not Carolina is able to finish their chances, that'll be a huge thing in this series. And I really just think it'll come down to that. It'll be who can keep the puck out of the net, because both of these teams are going to be able to get chances, right? So with Carolina, you know, they're a bit different from Buffalo, because although Buffalo has, you know, the top scorers, and you know, maybe Thompson and Tuck weren't that in the last series, but they certainly have the top scorers and they have the depth. Well, Carolina, it just seems like everybody can score. Like every single player in that lineup can score, and they just roll lines. Like they've been carried by Taylor Hall, Logan Stankoven, Jackson Blake, guys like that. And, you know, we're waiting for the rest of their big boys to get going, and they just have a line. They have a guy or two on every line who can score. So if they get those chances and Barry, I think Carolina should win handedly, but Dobish has been really, really good. And he's a battler, which we've seen too. Like he really, really battles. So I don't know. I think Carolina is the obvious pick. I'm going to take Carolina in 6 games. But like you said, Case, the longer Montreal hangs around in this series, I think the worse it gets for Carolina, because then, you know, the nerve starts setting in. And also Montreal is clearly pretty happy to be in those moments where, you know, they're just clinging on. They're going into a shell. They're kind of just defending and hoping and praying that nothing goes in the net and trusting their goalie and their defenseman. And then they're the kings of the counterpunch, right? Like that's what Montreal has proved so far in these playoffs, that they're the counterpunch kings. And I forget who said it. Someone on Sportsnet said that, and it really resonated with me because it's so true. Like they climb into their shell when things get hectic and crazy, and they wait for the storm to pass. And in this case, it's the Hurricanes. Didn't mean to do that one, but they wait for the storm to pass, and then they counterpunch when they get the opportunity. So Montreal, like they could put up a real fight here. But I think the pick for me has to be Carolina in 6.
And I'm going to snatch the mic from Hart before he gets to talk here. We already gave him the stage about Buffalo, so he's on
That's
time
true.
out for
That's
it.
true.
I just wanted to add the point of Montreal playing in the shell and combine it with the fact that Carolina's big dogs haven't necessarily had to show up yet.
Yeah.
The way you see this going is the team that plays in the shell is playing the team that forechecks the hardest and controls the play the most in the offensive zone.
Yes.
What's that going to lead to? It's going to lead to the most penalized team in the playoffs getting more sticking infractions, more tripping, more penalties, power plays. Well, who's on the power play? The big dogs in Carolina. They get more chances to score, more chances to unlock. I mean, Taylor Hall, Jackson Blake, and Stankoven have been doing it 5-on-5 this whole time. So that you don't question that. It's going to be the fact that Montreal is going to be, swarmed behind their net, taking penalties. Let Aho eat.
Yes, and to build off of that point, and we're keeping Harp out of the loop here still, it is just, Buffalo in that series was able to get Montreal on the ropes, and Tampa in their series was able to get Montreal on the ropes, and they controlled the play in the offensive zone, but Buffalo especially was not able to capitalize on those chances. Carolina is a team that routinely does capitalize on those chances, right? Over the past 5 years, they're the team who's consistently in the top 3 in high danger chances for, high danger goals for, you name it, like they get to the dirty areas and they score. It's a formula for them. It's analytical. Like they have a formula and they stick to it. And I just, for whatever reason, that's what Montreal likes to do. And I just don't know if I see it working against Carolina. It might work against 31 other teams in the league or 30 other teams in the league rather. But against Carolina, I just feel like that's the perfect recipe for them, where Carolina's going to be so happy to have the puck the whole time and to just hem them in their own zone and to just get their own rebounds and keep funneling it to the slot and keep putting pressure on Dolbish and the defenseman. Like, I just really feel like Carolina is licking their chops right now. And by the way, that could all be spoiled if Freddie Anderson is not the Freddie Anderson from rounds 1 and 2, which that is a very likely possibility based on his track record. So
yes, absolutely. Talking about that shell that Montreal likes to get into and then they pounce on you at the right time. I mean, Carolina just will force them out of that shell that they get into, whether they like it or not, or whether they're ready for it or not. That's what the Hurricanes do. And, Marty St. Louis deserves his flowers. Absolutely. He's done a tremendous job with this Montreal team, and good for them. They're a little further ahead than Buffalo, and this is the next step for them in their progression, and the Sabres will get there. St. Louis has done an unbelievable job, but like, you talk about well coached. I mean, Brindamore's Hurricanes, those guys would run through a wall from him. They had for him, pardon me. They have their structure, they have their process and their game plan, their style of play, furious forechecking, dump and chase, puck possession, wearing the other team down, and locking it down defensively really well. They don't deviate from it. And Montreal, still a young team, the youngest team in the NHL, really impressive. But we saw a lot of penalties in that series with the Sabres, and Buffalo was guilty of it too. I just think that there are going to be a lot of times, and you guys alluded to it already, where Montreal, like, they're going to lose their cool, and they're really going to have to manage that when they are being hemmed in by a very good Hurricanes team. So I've got Carolina in 6 as well. I think the pesky Habs will get a couple of wins in this series, but ultimately Carolina is the better team, and this is their best shot to end that curse that they have of not being able to win in the Eastern Conference Finals. There's no Florida. There's no New York Rangers, that is. They've got a young Montreal team on a high here, and Carolina can take advantage of a team that's maybe running on fumes a little bit and just happy to be there, and take advantage of that with their experience and their rest and all the guys that they have going. And by the way, very similar to the Montreal Buffalo series. I mean, this series is going to be fast up and down the ice, and the speed and the talent that these two teams have is really something to behold. But I'm with you guys. I've got Carolina in 6 games here.
Boring thing to keep an eye on here. I know, but it's something we've talked about before, and you hear them talking about in the broadcast a lot, is face-offs. And I thought that Montreal, until those last 2 games, really dominated Buffalo in the face-off category.
Yeah.
And that's something that allows Montreal to get out. And you see their set play, like snap it back, Hudson flick up the middle, Anderson breakaway. That happened twice.
Yeah.
But you look at Montreal right down the middle. Evans is 59.6, Danault's 58.8, Suzuki's 52.3. Everyone who plays centering, including Veleno, Doc, even Kapanen, is in the positive on faceoffs. They all can get it done. And that's not something that Carolina's been particularly good at. And they've relied on Stahl to take most of the important faceoffs, just like how Buffalo was relying on Josh Norris. And then, I mean, is that who you want on the ice in those big moments? Yeah, you want Stahl in the defensive zone, but might not be who you want in the offensive zone.
We interrupt this podcast to tell you about one of our favorite partners, Sign Up Expert. If you're a sports bettor, whether brand new, casual, or hardcore, listen very carefully because this ad is for you. Guys, line shopping for the best odds matters, and that's why any profitable sports bettor needs to be using multiple sports books to maximize their profits. Thankfully, there has never been a better time to get signed up, and we are here to connect you with the best promotions industry-wide. When you use our link at signupexpert.com/boysinthebooth, you can get access to all of the top sportsbooks in your region, along with a review of each platform and its unique benefits. Most importantly, all of these sportsbooks have valuable sign-up offers for new users. And when you register through our link, you will automatically receive the top offer at each one, allowing you to start line shopping with an enhanced bankroll. Guys, it's simple. When you use multiple sportsbooks, you ensure that you can always access the best available odds, which is key to successful and profitable sports betting. So, if you want to take advantage of these incredible benefits and support our brand at the same time, please consider signing up for your next sportsbook through our link in the description below, signupexpert.com/boysinthebooth. If you're planning on signing up for a new sportsbook anyways, you might as well use our link and support the boys. So, one more time, that's signupexpert.com/boysinthebooth.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point, because we did see that happen, like you mentioned, a couple times in that series where it's flipped up to Anderson. And by the way, Anderson's wheels, like as a big man, that guy just flies. It's amazing. Yeah. He's one of the guys where it's like, if he could do that 82 games a year, he'd make $15 million. It's the fact that he only does it, 20 games a year, and then in the playoffs, it seems, when he wants to. That's why, he's not Tom Wilson, I guess. But
I mean, Miles Wood can skate like that 82 games a year. You don't see him getting paid.
Yeah, no, but I mean, with everything else Anderson can do, like he's Tom Wilson, but he can't be Tom Wilson for 82 games. If
he does that for 82 games, he's going to kill himself.
Exactly.
He's just going to crash into the end of the boards.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
Every time.
Like
Can't
when
control it once he gets past that goal line.
Like when he went into the net in Game 7.
That
was in Game 7, he went into the net and then the boards.
Yeah.
Hit
like a second time.
And he hit 2 posts in that overtime.
Yeah.
As well.
Yes.
Like he was very dangerous.
And I had Anderson scoring the winner too. I didn't bet on it, but I picked him.
Well, I hate that I picked the guy that actually got it.
No hook.
For God's sake.
I wanted to say a couple more things just to finish off on this series. Number one, I just put it on the screen, and I guess I can, again, you guys probably saw this, right? But the picture of Brind'Amour and St. Louis playing against each other in 2007, now coaching against each other in 2026. Obviously, Brind'Amour stole the cup from St. Louis in 2007 that year, so that was pretty neat. Or was that 2006 that Carolina won the cup?
Yeah, 2006 Carolina beat Edmonton and won.
Yeah, so Brind'Amour got the better of the NHL in that year, I guess. So we'll see what happens in 2026, but those two facing off is pretty cool. And then also, just had to mention this because I've been kind of dogging on Montreal. I need to say something positive. I don't know if there are more than 3 defensemen in the NHL right now that I would take over Lane Hutson. And I am so serious about that. So serious. It's Makar, it's Hughes, and it's probably Werenski. After that, like if we're doing a draft today, a fantasy draft, Hutson might be the 4th defenseman to go. And I'm dead serious. He is that good. Every time he's on the ice, he controls the game in a way that not many other guys are able to do. Yeah. And just the compete, like something that I saw, the puck was in Dobish's pad off of a rebound, and Lane Hutson was in behind on game 7, pushing Dobish's pad against the post to seal it. And it's like so many players would have either tried to get their stick in there or like, you know, accidentally close their hand on the puck in the crease or something. But like Hutson had the thought to go, okay, well, I can't do that. I can't do that. Let me push his pad against the post and create that seal. You're totally allowed to do that. He thought of that. He did it. The compete, to me, the brain, like everything, he's incredible. So yeah, I think he's maybe the 4th best defenseman in the NHL right now. It's insane.
As much as I love Rasmus Dahlin, I'm not blind. Lane Hutson was the best defenseman going into that series, and we just continue to see it time and time again. And no one moves the way he does either. Like it's incredible the way that he's able to he's able to just gain the zone himself and with ease. And that's just one of many examples of why he's so incredible. So yes, absolutely. And just one more thing about Anderson. Again, like he can't play this kind of game, you know, all season for 82, but it's the old Marc Bergevin line. Funny enough, and of course we know Bergevin, former GM of the Habs, now he's with the Sabres organization, but he had a great line. There are those guys that get you there and then guys that get you through. And this time of year, Anderson his game is just so perfect for this time of year. And on the Carolina side, I look at a guy like Jordan Martinook, kind of the same thing. Jordan Staal, you could say that about as well. So I just wanted to throw that in there as well.
Yeah. He's amazing, Anderson.
For sure. All right. Our Western Conference final, gentlemen, we have the Vegas Golden Knights and the Colorado Avalanche. Colorado, just one loss in the Stanley Cup playoffs for them so far. And boy, oh boy, they have not skipped a beat since winning the President's Trophy this year. And probably our best chance of seeing that curse kind of be put to bed here. They are an absolute juggernaut, just like the Hurricanes, finishing off a very good Minnesota team in 5 games in that second round series. And then you've got the Vegas Golden Knights who, whether they like it or not, are going to have to talk to the media in this series. They get by a very good and very young Anaheim team that's on the rise, and fit into that mold, of course, with the Montreals and the Buffaloes of the world and all of that. So Vegas and Colorado Western Conference Final.
I can't believe that karma in some form has finally caught up with the Vegas Golden Knights. Like, could that have happened to a better team and coach?
So awesome.
Losing
I can't
your
believe we
second
haven't
round
talked
pick,
about it.
$100K fine for not doing media after a playoff series win. Oh, just chef's kiss. And then appeal, no, denied. Love it. That made me so happy to read that today that it got denied. Oh, that's so great.
I didn't even know that. Can I add something before you go on? I heard about that like on the day it happened. Obviously, like I get a message to my phone. Kind of harsh, no? Like kind of harsh. 100K for not doing media. Like I get you're supposed to do it, but like I read that and I was like, really, a second round pick and 100K? Kind of harsh.
They got warned multiple times.
Yes, they got warned multiple times, and if I may, I think another part of this as well is the Cassidy thing. The fact that they still have not granted permission for him to talk to Edmonton or LA, two divisional rivals. I get it, but
but that has nothing to do with the fine.
No, but I think I know that. I know the fine and the, forfeiting of the draft pick that's the media thing. But I also think that this Cassidy situation has factored into that. Like that's in the background of this is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but it wouldn't contribute to the penalty. That's not what you're saying, right?
No, but I think the league is thinking about that. That's on their minds as well while they're assessing this penalty for refusing to talk to the media after eliminating the Ducks in that second round series. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but also, and that's another thing too, and we don't have to get too sidetracked, but like, why does Vegas have any say over who he speaks to? I understand he's still under contract, but they fired him. Like
that,
I don't get that.
I know. I don't.
The whole thing makes no sense to me. Like
I don't get that either.
If you terminate a player's contract, he can go play wherever he wants. If you fire a coach, even though you had one more year on that contract, shouldn't that contract just be totally terminated? Like, why do you have any say over who he talks to after that? It doesn't make, like, maybe I just don't know the full details of it, but like, to me, that doesn't make any sense.
And so, with that, we have the Avalanche in 4.
Just wanted to say that what happens when a player gets suspended multiple times?
Well, I mean, he's a repeat offender.
Suspension gets repeat offender more and more and more.
Yeah.
I just Googled quickly on the side here, John Tortorella fine history. And I'm trusting AI pretty heavily here, but 2009, 10K. January 2012, 30K. April 2012, 20K. 2020, 25K. 2024, 50K. 2026, 100K.
Yeah, I see.
Been up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're doing it. He's been fined $262,000 in his career now, and been suspended 4 times as well. So
crazy. The draft pick, though,
doesn't surprise me. The draft pick shocks me, but at the end of the day, like
I agree.
They just gave up an essential duty, and after being warned, I screw them.
Yeah, I mean, look, like, good for the NHL for bringing the hammer down to say, like, we pay. Well, I guess the NHL doesn't pay, but we have deals with broadcasters who pay these journalists a ton of money to go do their job. They were just trying to do their job, and you didn't let them. I get that.
Another factor in all this too, and Elliot Friedman did say this on the Fan Hockey Show with Marchese and Fuda, that I think another factor here is that one of the Golden Knights players, I believe, refused to wear a mic in one of the games in that series. And basically, the mandate from Bettman in the NHL is, look, if you get asked to wear a mic, you have to do it, because those face off prime series, those behind the scenes documentaries and all of that are very important to the brand, the business, and fan interest, all of it. So I forgot to mention that, but I think that was factored in as well. But again, like, are we surprised by any of this? This is the Vegas MO. It's Vegas. Like, come on.
Listen, Mitchie, when Jeff Bezos tells you to wear a mic for the Amazon Prime series, you listen, all right? This isn't Toronto.
Vegas was like, we're going to trade that second round pick for like a 7th defenseman anyways. Doesn't matter. Whatever.
That is so true. And I saw someone do it like it was something like I forget where their pick is projected, but say it's like, 55th or something. And I saw someone do like the last 10 55th overall picks or something. And it's just garbage. It's just like players who never play. So it's just total, like you have to get lucky to pick someone good in the second round anyway. So Vegas is like, whatever.
Anyway, Colorado in 4. All right. We done, guys? No, I'm just kidding. All right. Okay. Case, why don't you get us back on track here, and let's put all that aside and talk about this series.
And another thing.
Okay, so I'll start off talking about the previous series with Colorado and the fact that they just dominated 5-on-5, and Minnesota has been very bad at 5-on-5. I mean, they've got it done for sure, as I could lose power because there's cats and dogs coming outside right now. Holy. Anyways, Minnesota expected goals percentage at 5-on-5, 45%. That's third last to Philly and LA. Colorado, 57.33%. They just dominate at 5-on-5. I'm kind of feeling like this could maybe be a closer series than the Minnesota one turned out to be. And that's mostly due to depth down the middle and the fact that Vegas has been good in all areas, including 4 shorthanded goals, multiple power play goals, and about even on the 5-on-5 play so far. And I just like the matchup of Vegas. Now, am I worried about their goaltending? Yes, I am. I don't know where that's going to go. But I'm equally worried about Colorado's goaltending now, because I don't like when teams are doing the flippity flop. It's a distraction to everyone involved. And I don't like that. So they just got to pick a guy and ride with it. Who that is, glad I'm not making that decision. But I equally don't like it as much. That being said, I've been picking Colorado to win the cup since the very beginning here, and I'm going to ride with that. I think they're the better team in overall. Everyone's showing up for them, up and down. Same could be said about Vegas. Dorofeyev, amazing. Brett Howden, amazing. Mitch Marner, leading the playoffs. Eichel, right behind him. Did you see that goal by Mitch Marner, where he went through his legs backwards in the crease? What? But
incredible.
I'm going to take Colorado, and I'm going to take them in 6 games.
Yeah, we're 2 for 2, Case. I'm taking Colorado in 6 games. I should start going first, and then you can copy me, and then I sound like the smart one. That would be the way to do it. But yeah, for a lot of the same reasons, like I just think Colorado's the better team. Throughout the regular season, they were the best team in the league. In the playoffs, they have been one of, if not the best team in the league. They made quick work of a really, really good Minnesota team. And for Vegas, I think they have that ability similar to a Montreal on the other side, who can just kind of hang on and wait to pounce. But Vegas is different in the sense that they don't give up the same amount of high dangers to a lot of teams. The problem with that theory for Vegas of them not giving up a ton is twofold, I guess. Number one, you have Carter Hart in net. So even if you give up a handful of high dangers, like, you don't know if they're going to go in or not, because even though he's been good in the playoffs, he's, just fresh into the league again and has been up and down since he's been back. And number two, you're playing Colorado, who famously puts the puck in the net more than anybody else in the league and has done so for the last 5 seasons. So yeah, I think it's going to be tough for Vegas to hang on. I know their big boys have been good. I know they've been getting some depth scoring from guys like Howden, for example, is having a really good playoff. But I just think Colorado is going to be too much to handle. That's why I'm picking them to win in 6 games. But listen, it wouldn't shock anyone if Vegas pushed this to 7 or even won the series. This is Vegas we're talking about. On paper, they have a fantastic team and they've been good in these playoffs. But I just really think Colorado overall should win. They are better. We've been picking them right from the very beginning, talking about how good they are all season. As long as Wedgwood or Blackwood or the two of them in some combination are able to sort of hold the fort, then I think Colorado outscores their problems and wins this series.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be boring and agree with the both of you again and have another clean sweep here. And I've got Colorado in 6 games. And so we'll be generous to the Vegas Golden Knights and respectful and as well. And I think they squeak out a couple of wins in this series, but just more questions about them than I do with the Colorado Avalanche. Chad, like you said, Carter Hart has been good for Vegas in these playoffs. Tortorella is obviously familiar with him. That's not lost on any of us, but I just wonder how much longer he can keep it going. And, this is these are the Colorado Avalanche that we're talking about here. And Makar is clearly banged up, but continues to play like Cale Makar, and Vegas is going to have to make life difficult on him. But Colorado's just so deep, top to bottom. I like their depth a lot more than the Vegas Golden Knights, and I think they're a much faster team than the Vegas Golden Knights. And so with all that being said, and just Colorado being the well-oiled machine that they are, I've got to take them in 6 games here. Look, it's not going to be easy. They're going to get frustrated at times. Vegas, I think, squeaks out a couple of wins in this series. They're going to have to pay Pavel Dorofeev, by the way, this summer. Mm-hmm. But I just think at the end of the day, Colorado is just too deep, too good, and looking to get back to the promised land for the first time since 2022, and they look like they've got a really good chance to do that. So Colorado in 6, but Vegas won't make it easy at times for sure.
Colorado's a much faster team, but Vegas is much more physical team. So something that maybe you have to keep an eye on here.
For sure.
It's true.
Yeah. You gotta not have the puck to hit. So Colorado's not in the position to hit a lot.
That's true. They just got that.
That's
thing
just it.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is going to be a fun one. I really hope we are able to see Carolina and Colorado in the finals. I think that would be the best final of the ones that are possible with these 4 teams left. I think it would just be so like fast and high paced. Like it would just be like watching the screen like this, like a NASCAR race, right? Like it would be awesome to watch. And I really hope they can get it done. And honestly, like, I don't know how much more of this Marner succeeding in the playoff stuff I can take. So if Vegas wins this series, like I could realistically be in a position where it's Marner versus Freddie Anderson in the playoffs, or Marner, even worse, Marner versus the Montreal Canadiens.
I was just going to say, like, Chad's worst nightmare coming true.
That would be,
is going to happen. It's going to be Montreal-Vegas final.
That would literally be the worst thing on planet Earth. And you know what? I would be happy for Freddie Anderson to win the cup. The reason he is not in Toronto anymore is because he was injured for a long time in Toronto. And when he was in the net, he was always playing through something. And He wasn't great his last year and a half or two, but like I really liked Freddie a lot, and I would be really happy for him to get it done in Carolina. But Mitch, I just can't, like, I got nothing against the guy personally. I'm just, the narrative is killing me that, oh, look what Toronto did to him. You know, he's producing elsewhere. It's like, yeah, I mean, he played two crappy teams from the Pacific. Like, you know, anyway, I think Colorado and Carolina meeting in the finals would be the best thing for my mental health. That's all I'll say.
I want to shout out Brett Kulak as well of the Avalanche, who got that game winner in overtime. First of all, what a comeback by the Avs in that game 5 to win the series and move on to the Western Conference Finals. But shout out to Brett Kulak. He gets the game winner. And before that, and again, this is Kulak we're talking about, like a very good, like, you know, defenseman who becomes a guy that can play 20 minutes a night for you in the playoffs. We saw it in Edmonton, but before that goal, he breaks up a 2-on-1 with Kaprizov and Boldy. And again, like, we're not talking about a Norris Trophy guy. It's Brett Kulak. And so again, just this time of year, it's just awesome to see those guys that, again, get you through, those depth guys. And boy, if you're the Edmonton Oilers, you're missing a guy like that. That's for sure. So I wanted to shout out Brett Kulak of the Avalanche because he's been great. And just, again, this time of year, it's those depth pieces that show up big for you in big moments. So I wanted to mention that.
I wanted to shout out someone as well, and then we can wrap up.
Yeah.
I want to shout out the NHL schedulers. Yeah. I'm talking to you, NHL schedulers, who I normally hate with a burning passion. I want to shout you out for scheduling Vegas and Colorado every game, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you.
Yes.
I can actually get good sleep.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Great point.
Yes, that's good. To the Kulak thing, is Sam Girard making that defensive breakup with a stick and then going down and scoring? What do you think? Is that a good trade for Colorado or what?
That's a good trade for both the Avalanche and the Penguins. Not so good for the Edmonton Oilers, though, which is what I kind of wanted to highlight.
You did say that about 6 times.
No, I know.
Edmontonians are coming for you.
Oh, great. I guess so. But yeah, I wanted to shout out Kulak because that was like, what a shift in that game. And anyway, but just love to see these depth players this time of year come up with big moments like that. And we've got more to come. Both these series are going to be fantastic.
Harp, I got to say, that feels like ancient history. Like that play was like a week ago, and it feels like 2 years ago.
Yep.
The playoffs, man. Like, and Carolina's been off for 2 weeks, and they're going to, like, we didn't even talk about rest versus rust, but like, how is that going to factor into this series? Like,
hasn't phased them so far.
No. And I asked, because it was last week, right? It was just Case and I on the pod together, just the two of us. And I did ask, Case, I did ask you about that. I'm sure you remember, like, you know, would this amount of time off affect the Carolina Hurricanes at all? And we both just kind of shut it down immediately. Like, no, it's the Carolina Hurricanes. Not really worried at all.
The only thing I'll say to that is that they talked about in the broadcast last night that Brendan Moore hasn't been able to, you know, send the message yet or talk about the specifics or show tape on the team because he doesn't want to show it for both. He wants to show it for whoever they're playing, so you're not getting it all messed up in your head. So he's been holding off on that, waiting for whoever was going to win last night. So that, I mean, that does limit their time on study, I guess. But
Yeah.
is
But
that
no,
gonna
that
affect
makes
them?
so
We'll
much
see.
sense, because otherwise
For
you're
sure.
like, oh, do they play the 1-3-1? Like, oh, who do I got? 72? Like, yeah. It's like you're mixing up teams. Like, yeah, that does make sense.
And the two teams are very similar, Buffalo and Montreal, as we talked about. So, yeah. Well, what was the other thing I was going to say about Carolina? I forget. That's okay. That's all right. Slip my mind.
Riveting podcast instead of tap dancing. What the hell? What was that other thing?
Chuck is
Oh,
screaming
okay.
at the
It came to me.
radio right
Okay.
now.
I laughed. There were 4 or 5 guys in Hurricanes jerseys at the Game 7 on Monday in Buffalo. So scouting out their
Thank God we got
potential,
to that.
scouting out
really
the-
happy.
scouting out their potential Eastern Conference final opponent. I know it's kind of nothing information, but it's just where my mind went. Leave me alone.
But you wanted to say it, and
I'm
that's fine.
grieving.
You did. That's good.
Okay.
I'm happy.
All right, fellas, are we done here? Anything else to add?
We've been done for 20 minutes.
Okay, fair enough. All right, there you go. Previews for our final 4, our final 2 series in the well, no, not our final 2 series in the Stanley Cup playoffs, but we're certainly getting towards the end. So there you go. Eastern Conference Final. Carolina and Montreal starts Thursday. Wednesday night, Game 1 between Colorado and Vegas. Thanks so much for listening to episode 283 of the Boys in Booth podcast, proud partner of I Play Hockey. Thanks so much and take care. Talk to you soon.